Am I the wrong one for telling a friend's BF her intentions of getting pregnant? A couple years ago, a close friend, Ashley, started a long-distance relationship with a guy, Chris. He has been really good to her, and after meeting in person a few times, they decided to move in together. I was super happy for her as she had a few bad relationships over the years, and it was nice to see her in a healthy one. That joy faded the last couple months before she moved a few states over to be with him. The issue isn't her moving, but that she repeatedly joked about having a baby from Chris. At first, I accepted it as jokes, but over time I realized Ashley was serious. For context, Ashley has 2 children from a previous relationship, ages 10 and 12. Chris absolutely doesn't want kids. He told her this at the start, and any time she hinted possibly wanting more, he shot it down, saying it was a deal breaker. Now, Chris is more than willing to accept her children as her own, because he loves her, and after meeting her kids, them as well, he's accepted that they are a package deal with her, and since they are at an age where they are semi-independent, it's not an issue for him. To me, Chris is a real bro for taking on her kids without issue. Hearing Ashley say she wants a baby out of him, one way or another, bothered me to no end. It's hard enough to find a partner that treats you well and accepts children that aren't their own. To find one that doesn't then talk about plotting to force a baby seems gross and manipulative. Before her move, I had sat down with Ashley, trying to talk sense into her. At first she resisted, but finally it seemed she understood how lousy it would be. After I felt like she had understood, I put the issue behind me and helped support her through the hassle of moving. A few days after she left, I got a call from a mutual friend who delves into the Wiccan/metaphysical realm. She was distraught and confessed to me that shortly before Ashley's move, Ashley had come to her asking for a fertility spell. This friend didn't feel comfortable about it and refused. When pushed, she said she cast a spell for a healthy and honest relationship, but told Ashley it was for fertility. As you can imagine, I was livid. I messaged Ashley, confronting her about what I learned, and she laughed it off as she was desperate. But magic is fake anyway, so what's the harm? She then let it slip that since Chris was planning on getting a vasectomy in a few months, she had poked holes in their condoms as a last-ditch effort. At that point, I couldn't stay silent. I gathered up screenshots of all the conversations over the last few months and sent them to Chris. He understandably freaked out and kicked her out. Now, Ashley hates me because she was kicked out after a huge move and didn't have a job or money to make it back. She said I'm a terrible person for putting her and her kids out on the street. Am I the a-hole here? Should I have kept quiet? Not the wrong one. You didn't get her kicked out. She did with her deceitful and potentially very harmful behavior. This is worse than cheating on someone emo. Can you imagine if it were the other way around and he were the one poking holes in condoms? People would drag him through the mud, and pretty sure it's illegal to do in many places. Choosing to be a parent or not is incredibly personal and should never, ever be a coerced decision, considering how awful and disrespectful she is to someone she was supposed to be in love with. I don't think you're losing out on much of a friend here. You're a hero in my eyes. WIBTA. If I told my family that our secret family recipe came from the side of a can? Growing up, every year around the holidays my mom would make fudge. The story was this amazing fudge recipe came from her grandma, who snagged it from a famous candy maker. My mom didn't get the recipe until she was an adult, and we were always told that we couldn't have it until we were 30. In my late teens my mom asked me to help make the fudge with her a few times. The recipe is very simple, and this was all the exposure I needed to memorize it. I've never once needed to write the recipe down. It came out that I had the recipe early, and my mom and her mom were both outraged. I was given many warnings against sharing family secrets and told they were disappointed at my sneaking around them. I've never shared the recipe with anyone besides my brother and sister. I don't have the same feelings about recipe hoarding, but I followed tradition. However, even now, 15-ish years later, I'll get comments about how they don't entirely trust me since I came by the recipe dishonestly. Tonight I was reading an article about a chef doing research on secret family recipes for pickled herring. He managed to get copies of hundreds of recipes. 200 of them were identical. He traced them back to a cookbook from the 1960s. This got me thinking about our family recipe. After not much Googling at all, I found our exact recipe on the website for an evaporated milk company. They apparently have also printed the recipe on cans over the years. This leads me to believe that either my grandma or her mother actually got the recipe from a can and lied about its origin. I think this is hilarious and want to share the information. We've been so secretive about a recipe that's in public domain. There's really no reason to hoard it anymore. Would I be the a-hole if I shared this knowledge with my mom? I say not the wrong one, do it. Because it came out that I had the recipe early, and my mom and her mom were both outraged. I was given many warnings against sharing family secrets and told they were disappointed at my sneaking around them. What is even the point of having a cherished family tradition, If it ceases to be something fun and just becomes a vehicle for bullying and emotional abuse. Out there BS secret recipe, tell them exactly why, because they're being a-holes about it. Can you find a can of the recipe somewhere and give her one as a pre-Christmas gift? Bats eyelashes / It is one thing to treasure a recipe, it's another thing to imply you're dishonest and or untrustworthy. Also, what do I Google to find this recipe? Smile. Edit. Thanks for the silver. Am I the wrong one for telling someone she's the common denominator in her failed friendships? I've been with my partner for a year now and have met most of his friends. He's very close to his friend group from high school, which I think is very sweet. His best friend is getting married next year, and my BF is one of his groomsmen, so we've been spending more time with his friend group lately. I'm admittedly not super keen on one of his friends, but I've always just chalked it up to personality differences. She's quite loud and dominates conversation a lot, but it's not like I don't like her. I just find her a bit much. We were in a Zoom with BFS friends, shooting crap, and the wedding came up. At one point we were talking about outfits etc, and S said how much she hates shopping and was dreading going shopping. She made a weird comment about how she's so not girly and one of the guys, which I found immature. She's a grown woman after all. But I didn't say anything. S asked if I knew what I was wearing and I said no. But I had planned to go shopping with a friend of mine who also had an event coming up. I was going to ask S if she'd like to come with us, but she interrupted saying, "Oh, that's so cute. I just don't like stuff like that. I don't hang out with other girls, I just prefer being with the guys," which I found really patronizing, to be honest. It was clear I was annoyed, and the conversation kind of took a turn. Me: "So you have never had a friendship with another woman before?" "No, I have. I just find a lot of girls petty and catty, don't you?" Me: "No, I don't. I'm friends with lots of women, we complement each other, go shopping together and occasionally share pastries sometimes." "Oh, I could never. Girls always talk behind my back." Me: "You know, if every single relationship you've ever had with another woman has gone sour, there's a common denominator there, and it's not the fact that there are other women, it's probably you." A couple others laughed, and tried to move on to a different topic of conversation, but it was clear S was angry. She logged off early and later texted my boyfriend and said I was way out of line. He replied and told her he didn't think so, and if she was one of the guys she should be used to a bit of gentle ribbing every now and then. I feel a bit bad because although I felt hurt by her comments, she seems quite insecure to me, plus it's not really my friendship group, so I may have been a bit overbearing. Am I the wrong one? Not the wrong one. She seems like one of the not like other girls, which is so not a nice personality trait. She was out of line for making comments about your friendships, but when you said something about hers she is acting so hurt by them, that is not okay. She was saying it in front of everyone, I believe all or mostly guys in the friend group, how she likes to hang out more with boys than girls, making her seem in my opinion like she is better than you because of it. Maybe she is jealous of you if she was the only girl in the friend group and now you are as well, so she wants them to think that she is better than you. I'd kinda just see it as she likes shaming you, which is not okay, and what you said isn't that hurtful if it is true. Edit, spelling. Edit 2, spelling again. BTW, thanks for all of the upvotes, smile. The internalized misogyny isn't cute. I really dislike women who demean other women. Not the wrong one. She is talking to a woman about how much women suck and you dealt out some truth. Am I the wrong one for recreating a secret cookie recipe the person does not give out? My boyfriend's mom makes these amazing cookie bars. She makes them for the holidays and family gatherings and people always request that she brings them. I asked for the recipe once and she laughed and said no, that it was hers and she doesn't give it out to anyone. I dropped it and never asked again. I started baking a lot during the pandemic. It's been fun for me in my downtime. I decided with my free time to try to recreate the cookie bars my boyfriend's mom makes. I pulled up recipes that sounded similar from online blogs and started baking and tweaking. It took about 5 recipes and batches, but I finally nailed it down. Her secret recipe ended up essentially being a cookie bar known as a Carmelita. I then decided to make it my own and improve it to my tastes. I used higher quality chocolate, made sauce with local homemade caramels, used flaky sea salt on top, vanilla bean paste instead of extract, added a pinch of this fantastic organic cinnamon I had on hand. The results were over the top delicious. My boyfriend declared they are better than his mom's and he finished off half a pan in 2 days. He was FaceTiming with his mom Saturday and eating one. She asked what it was and he said one of your caramel bars. Joe found a recipe online, but made it even better. She lost it. She started yelling about how awful I was for making her cookies and how I had no right. He told her that she was overreacting and quickly ended the call. She started blowing up my phone with nasty texts about what an a-hole I am. I explained to her that I found the recipe I used online where it was very public. I had actually tweaked that to make it more my own, and that I wasn't ever planning on bringing them to an event she's at, so I did not see what the big deal was. She didn't care. She called me names and told me I was wrong for baking a recipe that I knew was similar to hers. She isn't speaking to me or her son. While I don't think my boyfriend should have made the comment about how I made it even better to his mom, taking that out of the equation, she thinks I'm an a-hole for even making them to begin with. I disagree, but from the texts from her and a couple other family members of hers, they think I crossed a line. Am I the wrong one for recreating this recipe? Edit to add this, since people are asking, and edit to correct that I make my caramel sauce with homemade caramels from a local shop. I used the recipe below for the base for my bars, but then made the tweaks I mentioned above. I used high-quality chocolate, homemade caramels from a local candy place. I add 1 tablespoon of vanilla bean paste into my caramel when I melt it, and a pinch, probably 1/4 of a teaspoon, or less, of a very mild organic cinnamon into the oatmeal mixture. I top it with flaky sea salt. They are great the regular way though, because the tweaks I made to my last batch, the batch that got me in trouble because they were declared better than the inspiration, add up in price quickly. Link 1 in description. Not the wrong one. She started yelling about how awful I was for making her cookies and how I had no right. You shouldn't have posted the recipe online if you didn't want people to know it. Oh, you didn't post it? Then I stole someone else's recipe, not yours. I'm glad we don't have to be mad at each other anymore. She didn't care. Oh, in that case I'm going to post the recipe on Facebook. Thank you. They think I crossed a line. I made cookies. Whatever. Stupid response. It's cookies. More bullcrap. They are cookies. Not the wrong one, but you sure as crap better share the recipe, or at least the link to the one you based it off of, please, lol. Am I the wrong one for being angry at my family for lying about my birth parents' race? I'm 23. I've known I was adopted all along. For whatever reason I became obsessed with learning more about my birth parents at age 13. I was told all my life that my parents met both of my birth parents before I was officially adopted. My mom was white from South America and my dad was white from Italy. They specified these 2 locations to explain why I had tan skin. As I was growing up, certain things about my physical makeup made me more curious about my birth parents. My hair was kept short as a kid, but as a teen I wanted to experiment. I grew it out and it grew out curly. Big curls, but still curly. This upset my parents, so they asked that I not grow it out. When I moved away for college I began to let it grow again. I met my girlfriend in school. She is Black American, so she also helped me care for it. She once braided my hair before I FaceTimed my parents, who lost it on me for wearing it that way. Throughout my time in school I still searched for my birth mom, but would always come up empty. My girlfriend hinted that there must have been a mistake with the information, even down to the name my parents claimed I had before they adopted me. She gifted me a DNA kit on my birthday that I didn't get around to until the lockdown hit. I didn't think anything would come of it because my parents weren't American, so I didn't know if it would work that way. So I sent it out of boredom and got my results weeks later, which have changed everything. I'm Black and Middle Eastern. I have light skin and my curl pattern is so loose that I hadn't considered it a sign before. I have ancestral ties to Iran, which can explain a more European facial structure. I'm sorry for my wording, I'm still learning. I sent my GF a screenshot and she called me right away. We were both stunned, though she long suspected. I tried to believe that my parents were innocently misinformed, but my girlfriend kept pointing out the inconsistencies. My parents claimed to have met my birth parents, therefore they couldn't have mistaken them for white. I confronted my parents, who became enraged at me for doing a DNA kit. I was very angry, yelling, swearing. They robbed me of my identity and hindered my search with their lies. My mom told me through tears that my racial background comes with a stigma, that I passed, so she wanted me to have an easier life fitting in. My dad yelled at me that I had to abandon what I just learned. I rage broke my phone and left. My siblings have been hitting me up on social media reprimanding me for being upset because our parents' reasoning is sound. I do pass. I did have an easy life. I'm not asking to be part of a struggle all of a sudden. I just don't think I should have been lied to, and I think their reasoning is bullcrap and racist. I'm just supposed to act like 10 years of me searching with the wrong info isn't that big of a deal? Edit. There's no way I can respond to all of you. Some answers. DNA kits can be wrong / parents can be white South Africans. My parents admit that my mom was Black. My oldest sister also recalls seeing my mom at some point. Both verify that she was Black. Yes, they could be lying again. I have plans to continue to look into my background. You are the wrong one for having a temper / breaking your phone. Okay, That's fair. Someone was shocked that I could break my phone. I threw it. I didn't break it with my bare hands. I walked out and threw it out of anger and it shattered. How do your parents treat your girlfriend? They tried to treat her poorly. They were okay at first, but eventually some comments were made that caused me to put some distance between us. My girlfriend was very hurt by their statements, so I chose to keep us both away from them. Claims that I'm race baiting. I don't understand how. I'm angry about being lied to and how that lie has made my effort into finding my birth parents completely void while also rewriting my heritage. You likely didn't pass to other POC. That's my girlfriend's stance as well. I'm tan enough that going to an all-white school still got me called slurs. Whatever issues my parents were trying to shield me from, it didn't work. Maybe this is a lie that I bought into alone. The current state of my relationship with my family. It's chaos. Two of my siblings are trying to be supportive. I deactivated my Facebook and unfollowed some people on Instagram. I can't entertain the argument that I should forgive my parents and move on. I'm not there yet. I get that it makes me ungrateful for feeling this way. For those who asked about my hair, lol, they are big curls. My girlfriend says they are 2C/3A. My hair texture is not unique to any race group, but drastically different from my family's. For those of you who were paying me slurs and telling me to go back to my crap hole country, thanks a lot. I appreciate your support. I appreciate those of you who shared your personal experiences with adoption and race with me, for giving me resources, books, and documentary suggestions, for welcoming me into your groups and giving me some kind words. I'm overwhelmed by your support. I've written down a lot of those recommendations. I'm still reading everything you guys have written as well. I appreciate the kind comments about my parents as well. I don't hate them. I'm just really upset and disappointed in their decisions. Not the wrong one. You have the right to know information about yourself and your background. Your parents may have had good intentions, but they went about it in a really terrible way. Not only have they lied to you for your whole life, they then got pissed at you when you learned the truth, a truth you wouldn't have had to go looking for if they hadn't lied. Even if they were worried about the stigma, they should have at least told you and let you choose if you wanted to embrace your background or not. Them getting mad at you makes it seem like they are more worried about how the stigma of your background reflects on them, rather than worrying just about you. Not the wrong one. That was racist of them. There's nothing wrong with knowing your race and ethnic makeup, even if you were adopted. Am I the wrong one for yelling at my wife for being unhelpful while I took our son to the ER for a broken arm? My wife, 33 years old female, is a SOM with our son, 4 years old male, and we also have a daughter, 6 years old female, in school. Last Friday I get a frantic call from my wife around noon that our son fell off the top bunk while she wasn't looking and now his arm looks really swollen. So I find him crying and holding an incredibly swollen, red arm sitting on the ground and refuses to let anyone touch it. My wife is sitting on the couch crying and saying how his arm looks so bad. I pick him up to go to the emergency room. I try to dress him since he can open his arms and ask her to get the car seat ready. She doesn't move and keeps crying. I give up and do the best I can and call for my wife to get in. She just sobs and shakes her head saying I can't. So I drive off without her. I got really annoyed at my wife at this point. We get to the hospital and they want to run him through some x-rays and he's screaming bloody murder. Around 3 p.m. I get a call from my daughter's school saying that no one's picked her up. My wife's job, so I call my wife. No one picks up. I call 3 to 4 more times before I rush out to the school. My son was inconsolable at me leaving him. Even the doctors were confused why I had to leave so soon. I get home with my daughter and rush in to find my wife still crying on the phone to her sister. I absolutely let loose and yelled, "Where the F were you? Why didn't you answer my calls?" She's shocked and just screams at me back that she's overwhelmed and can't handle all this right now. I get our daughter out and tell my wife to look after her. My daughter is crying because mom's crying and hangs onto my legs wanting to go with me. My wife makes no move to help me, so I just ended up bringing our daughter with me to the hospital. The next day while our kids were both sleeping I couldn't hold back and yelled at my wife for being absolutely zero help. She got equally mad and told me I humiliated her in front of her sister, when I yelled when she was on the phone, and that I should have been more considerate of the fact that she is really bad in emergencies. While I know she's not great in emergencies, this was something else and I felt like I didn't have a partner at all. Now she wants an emergency couples counseling session to address my rage. But I am honestly conflicted. I've never yelled at her before and I do feel guilty, but I also feel like these circumstances were extreme. However, I did apologize for yelling and wonder if I made things worse. Am I the wrong one? Not the wrong one. She needs an emergency counseling session on why she crumbled. I'm a mom, can't imagine not taking care of my kids when they're hurt/upset/needy. Not the wrong one. She left one child sitting in agony then left the other child abandoned at school. Part of being a parent is pushing your own crap aside to take care of your kids and then having a breakdown once they're cared for. To be perfectly honest, I would tell her either she gets counseling to figure out how to do what needs to be done or she needs to go back to work and put your kids in daycare because, as it stands, they would be better cared for in an emergency at a daycare than your wife has shown herself capable of. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day. See you later.